That's absolute bullshit. We know, and everyone said in the live chat yesterday that you did not show up because your leaps went down after CPI surprised upward. Is that not correct?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I didn't check. I'm sure my leaps went down a bit. But I mean, we're at the same range we've been at for a few weeks, so it's not really much movement.
You did
Uh,
not check your leaps because you threw your phone at the wall.
no, but what I did do is on the drop, buy more Meta calls, a company that's actually growing their earnings and kind of possibly undervalued. I expect a 30% increase in share price sometime this year. Something I can't say necessarily for Tesla. Tesla is more of a trading position, not a valuation one, just because it's been oversold. I'm expecting a rise in the next few weeks, hopefully by early March, and then I'll see what I'll do. I'll probably exit a lot of it because, Tesla. We can get into it later, but Tesla's probably around fair value, I would say. Um, but anyways, I did stop in yesterday on your YouTube chat, and I got my pleasure because you don't know who I am, and I made a comment, and you started laughing, looking at your YouTube chat, and I knew you read my comment, and then
No
then then
way.
you,
What was
then
the
you
comment?
verified.
What was the comment?
I told you to learn English, and I know how to trigger
I
you.
repeated that one.
I know.
That's
You
so
made my
funny.
day. And I know later in the day you're probably staring at the mirror, like looking at yourself, like, is my accent really bad? And like
No,
trying to speak with more American accent. So I know I got in your head. Even if you didn't
no,
know
you
it's
didn't.
me, I still got in your head.
No, you didn't. I actually said in YouTube live chat, wouldn't it be funny if Machine was in here under a different alias? I was like, he probably is in my head. I didn't say that
That's
out
right.
loud. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. How'd you like YouTube chat?
I mean, I just was in there for a second. I don't know. It seems like a lot of low signal to noise. There's a lot of noise. I see all these people who are afraid to come up to speak now are
That's not
behind
true.
another
That's not
barrier,
true.
and they're
We
just
have we
tea
have really good
chatting.
moderators.
Look at all these.
We
Look
have
at
a lot.
all these emojis they're put. It's like
Stop,
Snapchat for adults.
man. You suck. You suck so bad. I need people in YouTube chat right now. Okay, so I know you don't want to help. You never contribute on Patreon. You never say anything nice about this space. You don't subscribe. You don't follow. But I really need people in YouTube chat right now. So if people could please head over to YouTube chat live through the link at the top, I would appreciate it. Lumi,
I was just coming to say hello on Valentine's Day, and not financial advice, but I bought another 1,000 shares of Tesla. Whoop! So yeah, I'll leave you at that. I just wanted to say hello to everyone, and good, happy Valentine's Day it is.
Machine.
It's probably a good decision at this share price. Um, and yeah, happy Valentine's Day to all my listeners. I appreciate it. Please send me Valentine's Day chocolates, dark chocolate. I prefer at least 60%, 70%. Um, and yeah, I just want to make a comment on Lyft quickly. Their earnings report stated that they expected their gross margins, I believe, to increase 5% quarter over quarter. And so the market reaction was like, oh my God. And they buying the crap out of the stock. And I don't know if it like doubled, it went up to like 50%. And then they got on the earnings call, supposedly, and were like, oh, whoops, we had an error, a typo in our gross margin. We meant it was going to increase 0.5%. So some people, I'm not going to say idiots, because like if you hear a company's going to increase their gross margin that much, you're going to think it's undervalued, and that's kind of reasonable. Um, those people got screwed. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's some major fuck up.
So you probably haven't checked the stock price today then. Because
I
the stock is
see
up.
it's up. I see it's up high. I don't even think it's still up as high as it was. It is still below. At least it's gone up higher than post earnings call. But it was up to like 17.5. So at least, yeah, if those people held on, they're not hurting too much.
I mean, what do you mean they're not hurting? They made a killing this morning.
No, I mean some people may have bought and the after hours high because they thought this thing had 5% incremental. They're going to increase their gross margins 5%, and then it went down after. So, anyways, yeah,
How high did it go up?
to $17.50.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? That's like actually, I mean, that company's gonna get sued because of that, probably. I mean, Lyft is going bankrupt, don't you think? Are they gonna survive?
I don't follow their financials, but
Didn't some
robotaxis are.
ex Tesla employees go over there a few years ago, and people were speculating that Tesla was gonna tie up with Lyft? You remember that?
They actually stole the IP, and there was a lawsuit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, wild. You know, the kind of rumors that come out with M&A talk is really crazy. You know, people get really excited with M&A ideas. Steven says for machine in YouTube chat, Popeye chocolate chicken for machine for Valentine's Day. People are saying Happy Valentine's Day to you, machine.
Well, my schedule is off this week, and I just did finish a 10-mile, 2,100-foot elevation gain trail run in
No
which
one cares. No one
I
cares.
slipped a rib muscle climbing a
No
barbed
one
wire
cares.
fence,
No one cares about your muscles.
and I
Costa
did eat
says
Popeyes.
machine will only get white chocolate. I agree.
Well,
Only
that's
white chocolate.
disgusting. That's not chocolate. That's
Exactly.
ridiculous.
And wow, one more thing we agree on. It's kind of crazy. Costa says back on chat, YouTube chat with iPad X on his iPhone. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. That's so cool. We have 49 people on YouTube chat live right now. Oh, Amy is here. Happy Valentine's Day, Amy. What should we ask on the poll here? Machine, do you think? Ask your community. I can do polls on YouTube chat live. YouTube live chat. What do you think we should ask? Come up with something. What kind of chocolate from machine? What part of machine do you like the best? The muscles or the eyes?
Well, there's only one
All the
eye.
above.
Only one eye. Can you put your eye into like a more higher resolution picture, please? It looks horrible when I put it on the
I can try. I
recorded
don't know
video.
why. I don't know why it doesn't.
People listen to this thing in their cars, and your eye is in their entire screen. It's so weird.
It does
We need
that?
higher resolution. Can you get some 1080p?
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Thank
He
you.
probably looks really tired now, so he doesn't want to retake it.
Just try to get like a professional photographer for your eye picture.
Please advertise for that. I'm looking for a professional eye photographer for
Oh, that's so funny. The eye is gross, machine. Costa says. You know what's really funny? Sometimes I just like some people have the same alias on X and YouTube, but some people don't. So like I have no idea who this I've never seen. Is it like one of these people that used to come here? Could people in YouTube chat please put their X aliases in the chat?
I mean, you've really jumped full shark now. I mean, the Spaces is not even about Tesla anymore. It's just about you talking about the YouTube chat.
We gotta get to 4,000 hours. and I'm the only one talking. I mean, I'm just fascinated by YouTube chat. That's why. But what do you want to talk about? Your dream? What did you see in your dream last night? Who was dropping their pants last night in your dream?
my nothing in my dream, I would say. I've been thinking about operating margin and what it could probably rebound back to in best case.
That's quite sexy.
It is when it comes from my voice. I'm just thinking, obviously, the operating margin, hit a peak during the COVID boom bubble. I'm thinking, maybe it rebounds to like 15%. I think that's reasonable. And if you kind of map out automotive revenue growth, where they can be at average selling price, let's say they get to 4 or 5 million vehicles, energy growth, energy getting to, say,
Can you speak a little faster? We're losing audience. Thank you.
200 gigawatt hours a year, service 10% of automotive revenue, etc. You get out to where you can get 25 to 30 billion in operating income a year, and I think that's reasonable. And that's still, though, what multiple are you going to give to that operating income? A 30, 20, 30?
I mean, the PE ratio typically is between 25 and 45 for tech,
Yeah.
but they don't consider it tech, do they? It's really weird.
Yeah. So, but if I just look at it that way, I'm like, well, this thing could be worth. You could argue that it could still only be worth 600 billion, but you could also argue 900 or a trillion. So I'm just like, well, a lot of that is priced in already. Not all of it, a lot of it. So I really think the future valuation increases company is going to mostly come from the AI efforts going into products, and that's more volatile, right? That's more risky. It's more uncertain, and so that's just kind of making me feel a little I don't know, like lukewarm right now until I see more evidence of those things happening. It's not a clear buy, is what I'm saying.
Says the guy who's in Leaps.
Someone in your YouTube chat said they're 100% in VinFast. So you got a lot of smart followers here.
Are you on both places? I guess so.
That's where
Well,
his other eye is. He has one eye on that and one eye here.
That's a good point. Hey, can you, Machine, just message over there so let's see who you are. Remind me who you are. I can't see the participants on YouTube Live.
By the way, so this chat's like a live chat. It's not archived, right? Like afterwards, you can't search it.
No, I don't. I mean, I can't. But and I can't make any changes to YouTube Live before I publish it. And for it to count to watch hours, it has to be published. So I can't switch to private or anything like that. Like literally, YouTube Live is whatever it is. You can't cut it, at the beginning or at the end. You can't edit anything. It's exactly what it is. So Machine, of course, is gonna take that and do something with it. Costa says, "Let's see your eyeball, Machine. Show us your eyeball on YouTube chat. Come on. Can you take a picture of your other eye and just post it on there?"
He only has one eye. It's the other one was replaced and made to look like a human eye, but he has a patch. He's a pirate machine.
Listen, I know everyone here wants to see high-res pictures of parts of my body, but I find it disgusting, and I need you all to stop.
Hey, do you want to? Should we talk some Tesla? Machine, what do you think about the price increases? You were looking at the retail prices, and you're like, "Hey, there's more price cuts coming," and instead we got the opposite.
Well, I mean, it can't be a bad thing, particularly the Model Y in Europe. Those are right in Norway and Germany. I mean, I know they had a few weeks of low production, but they already had inventory, and it's just a few weeks. So I think those price increments is a good sign. The Model 3 is, I mean, it's not bad, but it's also kind of iffy just because they apparently haven't been really producing many. So I don't, it's harder for me to digest and understand exactly what that means. But obviously, their order rate currently is ahead of their expectations for the production ramp. It's definitely better than the other way. I'm definitely happy that the Model 3 is not getting more price cuts because of the losing the EV credit. I think that's a big win by itself. And it's Q1. This is the worst quarter of the year in terms of seasonal demand. So if these things are happening right now, I mean, it's a good sign that this is probably the margin bottom.
I agree with you that operating margins are probably bottomed, especially with energy ramping as well.
I think,
I don't know about vehicle gross margins though. I think vehicle gross margins might go down again sequentially.
yeah, I mean, I'm saying that Q1 still might be the low point for gross margins instead of Q4, just because there's a little more price cuts overall, more inventory price cuts. But I think these signs are that this could be the bottom, and Q2 will be better. And like you said, operating margin might have already bottomed. Um, so yeah,
We have a question from YouTube live chat. Drew Soul asks, what is more material impactful on the share price within 2 years? 1, compact, or 2, energy storage megapack? What do you think?
I the it's got to be the compact. Um, if you just run the numbers, like I love Tesla Energy. It's a clean product, a clear problem and solution. It's easy to model out. But the fact of the matter is that the contribution long term to earnings is something that's much less than automotive. I would say long term. It depends on how much they scale it up. But if they scale up 50% year over year growth for a few years, is still only a fraction of the automotive. And so I think in 2 years, the compact, um, once it starts production, there's some indication of the selling price that is going to be modeled into estimates of future earnings, and I think that contribution will be higher. And yes, and that modeling will happen before and it doesn't have to be in full production for a year for that modeling from analysts to happen. So I think it's 2024 right now. I do believe this thing will be in production next year, 2025 sometime. So I do believe less than 2 years from now, this thing will be, you're not. It may not be at peak volume production, but I think it's going to be enough to influence modeling of valuation updates.
I know you so well that I can tell immediately when you start bullshitting. Kind of like turn around circles, your speech kind of gets interrupted every now and then. You're like
You're probably right.
you're thinking out loud, I can tell. But Melody of 1974 in YouTube live chat says, within 2 years, energy machine is wrong. How do you feel about that?
I feel that this person doesn't have much to say. I mean, that's it. Oh, that you're wrong, basically. Okay. Like I'm rubber,
I
you're
agree. I
glue.
agree with her. Megapacks have ramped already. They're really and Megapacks are going to have higher gross margins than compact vehicle, even at scale.
It's
Unless if you
simply
think
much less.
unless if you think compact vehicle is going to have robotaxi, but the question was within 2 years.
It's simply much less gigawatt hours for energy. So the revenue from energy is much less. It's that simple.
It's
I'm not
about
saying it's not going to
profits.
contribute.
It's about profits.
Well, there's going to be margin compression on that as well.
Compact vehicle, what do you think is going to be gross margin on a compact vehicle of $25,000, $30,000?
I think it'll be over 20%.
Okay, but Megapacks have much higher than 20% gross
Right,
margins
but
already.
it's much less gigawatt hours that they're producing for Megapack than they
How
will
many
for the compact.
compact sales do you expect in 2026?
I don't know what have they stated what one line is supposed to be able to do
No.
from Austin?
No, we didn't know what Lion was going to do on Cybertruck until 2024.
But I think the throughput of one line is supposed to be at least 2x more than a conventional line. So I mean, you should be able to do at least 500,000
Okay.
of capacity.
Okay, so 500,000, and let's say at a maximum you're making $5,000 a car. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? A couple of billion?
Well, you just I mean,
you don't think Megapacks are going to make more than a couple of billion in 2026? Come on. Do some math, man. See,
yeah,
this
no,
is what
it's not
happens.
about
You take
right.
off,
No,
listen, you take off one day from the space and you're off your game. And I'm like slamming you around with mathematics, with arithmetic.
I am not saying that in 2026 the compact is going to make more money than Megapacks. I did not say that. What I
Okay.
said was that by that time, analysts are going to model out future growth of the compact as it gets installed then in China and Mexico and model that in that increase in volume and revenue, which is going to be larger than probably the increase over the next few years of energy. So I believe that will have a higher contributing factor to share price rise at
Okay.
that time.
That may be, but I want to just let you know that in YouTube chat, people are cheering for me. They're like, nice. Go, Yaman.
Okay, where I see nice, I don't say go Yaman.
I put that in there. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you go, guy. See?
I see someone speaking Portuguese, so I'll just say tudo bem, como vai, como você?
All right, look, Ranger the dog says he believes it's going to be energy. Compact won't come until 2026. Okay. And, you did say that it's going to be more of a modeling thing, but then Ranger the dog also follows up with modeling estimates for compact will be low, just like the Cybertruck.
I don't listen to dogs.
Oh my gosh, look at all these Goyamans now in the live chat. Do you see that?
Yeah, well, they're just copying now.
I'm gonna report them for spam. No, I'm kidding.
Are you a moderator over there, Lumi? No, you're not, right?
100%, man. 100%. No,
I don't
I
think so.
avoid Google. I'm not a fan of YouTube. So
Are you
you
a
may
fan of
you
me?
may
I need
convert
the
me.
watch hour. Lumi, I need the watch hours. Who cares if
What
you're a
is
fan of
this? Tell
Google?
explain this to me then. Explain the paradigm of this. Watch
Yeah,
hours.
so to get to monetization, there are two milestones. One that we met is 1,000 subscribers. Okay, we got there real quickly. I thought it was going to take about 2 months. That was my goal, because on average it takes 2 years, and we got there in 2 weeks. Thanks in part to Omar's, reposts, and on his YouTube he posted a 5 minute. This is my buddy. Go follow him, kind of in a shout out, and that really helped. But watch hours were a little behind. So I need to get to 4,000 watch hours. So let's say, for example, we had 4,000 people in there. Okay. That would be just 1 hour. 1 hour or 4,000 people in the live chat would do it. Right. But right now we have 50. If we have 100 and we're there for like 5 hours, that'd be 500 hours. And I already have more than 1,500 hours of watch hours from the videos that I've published already. So we have 25. I have to get 2,500 more to get to monetization. That's why I need people in live chat. And what
So
people are
basically,
doing is they're actually listening in on X but they have YouTube Live up on a tab and muted. And then there's some discussions going on live chat. If you care for that too, you can join the conversation. And you can go to YouTube chat through the link at the top that says pregame, call on youtube.com/live, and then there's a specific address to the YouTube live chat. So that's why. And then there are
No, that's
5 moderators in there. They're moderating, directing conversation and everything. I actually haven't seen any spam there today. I've seen more spam from Machine in here than I've seen spam ever in YouTube live chat.
so I'm going to click the link above and go through and do the whole shebang.
There's
Go
no
to
whole shebang. It literally takes you to live chat.
All right, it's that easy. So
It's
you're
that easy.
converting someone here. You're going to get an extra hour, like per hour. So it's yeah. And the thing is that everyone in the audience. I mean, there's 90 people in this room. There's only like 4 likes on that link, 2 reposts. Like, come on now, at least like throw a like on it and repost it so it gets out into the world. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you're not the person to do it. I mean, I could see wiggle in this room. Like, there's a few people who are predominantly royalty, I'd say. Yeah. But anyway, I'll leave you to it.
All right. Thank you.
Also, another way to monetize is to show your feet, Machine. I find that if you show your eyes, it's not as monetizing as if you show your feet.
All right. We actually need to talk some Tesla. Machine. Let's
What?
see. So Cybertruck production is, ramping, but pretty slowly. Quality over production rate appears to be the case, the goal, which is good. FSD V12.2 is coming out soon, but hasn't yet. We'll see. Maybe this weekend, maybe next. Do you want to talk? What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Elon's compensation plan, that the news that came out, Sawyer posted earlier? Update. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about something else? We talk operating margins. Do you want to talk CPI, rate cuts?
Well, I don't know. CPI didn't seem like a lot of the increase was from the housing element, or am I incorrect on that?
Yeah, most of it is shelter.
So I just, I think, big picture, as I predicted a month and a half ago, that everyone was overreacting to the Fed and overestimating confidence of rate cuts. And then we've seen this correction, which was expected. Now I think maybe people are overreacting the other way a little bit. They're like, oh, there's not going to be any rate cuts till June, and inflation's back on the rise. And I think, the reality is going to be somewhere in the middle. Inflation's still heading down. There's no reheating. By the way, these like year-over-year stats, how much of that is because inflation is not going down as much, or excuse me, inflation is going up higher now versus was it dropping quickly a year ago? Those are the two elements in that computation of year over year. And so it's kind of important to know both elements. That's why the year over year stats aren't really good. Month over month, I guess that's more reasonable. But so I think Tesla obviously highly influenced by perceived interest rate cuts. So,
Yeah, you're so
that's
right. That's exactly correct. I agree.
Hey, by the way, I think outside of Omar saying at the end of the day, the other statement on this spaces that's most heard is, I agree with Machine.
You know what? As you were rambling on over there, I just had a different space on YouTube chat with my YouTube chat followers, my diehard YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I did not do that. That would be very mean. Anyway. Are you worried that the rate cut expectations are extending out in the year since you have leaps?
I mean, a little bit. I still think. Yeah, I don't want rate cuts to start happening at the end of the year in terms of this trading position, but It may happen. That's why this trading position was more aimed for a shorter term uh, rebound after being oversold, which could be incorrect, but it does seem like we've kind of been steady at a bottom here in the 180s. You know, yeah, sure, it went up to 190 a little bit, but like it's not going down. Even the bad news with interest rates, like Tesla actually performed relatively well versus the rest of the market. It's actually showing some strength. So I do believe still that we're probably around a local bottom, but that doesn't mean it can't go down further, you know, over the course of a few months later from now. So I don't know. The rate cut uncertainty is definitely an issue for Tesla in terms of gross margins ever coming back up. So we probably are gonna have to wait longer now to get a bigger bump in earnings, right? Until the end of this year, unfortunately. Like there should be some incremental gains in Q2, Q1 maybe operating margin, right? Could be a little higher. Q2 maybe a little bit, and then I think Q3 and Q4 are the only ones now where we're going to get to a point where possibly the interest rates have, you know, they don't have to cut the interest rates. They just have to signal it, and then the yields go down, right? If yields go down, that'll influence loan rates. So it's not going to be till the second half of this year, I guess.
Well, in the second half of the year, I think the Fed will don't. I mean, I hate to be the, I think that the Fed will worry about looking political in the second half of this year if they make a change. So I think status quo bias will kick in. But
Are
that's
you
just
saying you're not going to cut the whole year?
yeah. I think it may wait until next
No.
year.
You are so all over the place.
That's not true. And hey, let
Yeah.
me explain. Hold on, hold on. See, by the way, I invited you before to my VA underscore macro Twitter handle, X handle, because there I do macro spaces every Saturdays. Okay. And I want you to be part of those spaces. But despite my invites, you refuse to come to my party. And
Well,
that breaks my heart.
I have
Okay. Now,
family.
hold on. So there, Yutzi and I had a really good conversation last weekend. He said the same thing. You're all over the place. You're changing your view on rate cuts. I'm like, no, it's because you guys aren't listening when I talk. My theory is the same. I said before that they will want to cut rates early because they're not going to want to cut close to the election. Now we're close to the election, and now I'm saying based on that same premise, I think they're going to wait until after the election to cut.
And I think you are just totally wrong as
Okay,
usual.
maybe.
And you'll be wrong. You're already going to be wrong now, as you know, on your bet with me that there's going to be a rate cut by March. You
I
bet
don't
with
think
me.
you and I have. I don't think you and I have that bet.
We
I think I
do.
have that with
We
you.
do.
See.
Unfortunately for you, we do. I looked it up. It's
Okay.
another bet you're going to lose. But that doesn't mean now all of a sudden, just because it's not happening in March, that's not going to happen until January 2025 or November. It's insane. You're just
Okay.
losing your marbles.
Okay. Do you have anything to contribute in on top of that, or just are you just saying you're wrong?
Rate cuts by the rate
Like you
cuts in the summer.
criticized somebody just a second ago.
I predict rate cuts in the summer.
All right. Before this, talking over each other like two toddlers, um, makes Tim Rogers run away. Let's get what he has to say. Tim,
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
gentlemen, he starts with more like toddlers right now.
Look at my name, Mr. Rogers. You gotta, you know. So my question is in respect to Jim Farley over at Ford, right? So obviously they can't, produce enough EVs to be at scale. So don't you think it would be a good idea for a company like Ford to team up with Tesla and maybe, reduce some of their costs? I mean, I think they're losing $45,000 a unit right now.
I don't
Maybe,
think they have anything to bring to the table. I don't think Ford has anything to bring to the table. I
yeah,
think it
they
would
have they
just
have
slow
hybrids.
down.
They have hybrids to try to bridge over and try to catch up. But wouldn't you think buying Tesla batteries?
Omar, how are you?
Hey, good morning. I just, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I just got stuck in a Waymo for a few minutes, And other than that, I'm having a good day.
Well, that's great. Good to have you back. Um, we have YouTube live chat going on at the same time. The link is at the top of your screens. I would highly appreciate it if people could open YouTube live chat as well. There's some discussions going on in the chat over there. It helps the watch hours. So yesterday we got to above 1,500 for the channel watch hours. So we need 2,500 more. And the more people that are in YouTube chat, the quicker we're going to get there. And if you're in YouTube chat, please hit that like button, spread the word. Omar, do you have any thoughts on the macro talk that we were just having? You know, when the Fed is going to cut rates, whether they would be cutting rates before the election, or if they're going to wait until after the election just to not look like a political.
Well, first of all, I'm with Machine. The Fed does not consider politics or elections in their decision making. That doesn't factor in at all. They have independence. The president can't fire them. That allows them to not worry about those things. So they're going to do what they think is right. You know, they've spelled it out. When they believe that inflation is clearly moving to the 2% target sustainably, then they begin cutting. It doesn't even have to get all the way to 2%. Now, if you look at CPI excluding shelter, we've actually been under 2% for like 9 months or something. It's like 1.5% excluding shelter. So if you have a mortgage or your rent payment isn't going up, then you're not really experiencing inflation above the 2% target. So you don't hear people talking as much about inflation anymore. For most people, these rapid price increases are not really something that's happening anymore. Things have shifted a lot. I mean, you look at, for example, what was happening to Tesla prices, they were shooting up. Now they're shooting down, right? So that kind of, car prices are obviously one component of inflation. So I think the Fed is being cautious. They're not going to actually be as dovish as they maybe are really feeling because they want to be cautious. But when you look at like what's happening in China, I think there is a risk of contagion there where you have prices falling sharply in the Chinese market. That's such an export oriented market that there probably is a greater risk than they're not acknowledging of us actually falling below the 2% target sustainably and going into deflation. So you would definitely want to cut before that happens to avoid a problem that's even potentially worse than inflation. And, secondly, I think one of the reasons why shelter costs are so high are because of the high cost of financing, right? So a lot of supply has been taken off the market until the rates start coming down. So by cutting rates, you could actually potentially soften shelter prices a little bit by increasing transactions, warming up the market, and you know, having a situation where it's a little bit less tight than it is now in the housing market. Like we've been trying to buy a house, we can't find shit because nobody wants to go get a new mortgage at whatever the rate is today, knowing that the Fed is going to start cutting, right? So I think overall, the market may have gotten a little bit excited about the pace of cuts, but we're still trending firmly towards uh, really being under that 2% target sustainably. And the sort of risks of it flaring back up again, they don't seem to really be materializing. So I think we probably will see, 3 cuts or more in the back half of this year. We're talking, after June, July. And I think things are looking pretty good overall. I don't think this could have gone much better than it's gone when you really look at inflation, getting that under control. And obviously, there's huge effects to growth companies like Tesla, but price stability is also really important for Tesla for being able to, deliver a $25,000 car and continuing to have those cost improvements. So overall, I think things went pretty well.
Machine, what do you think about Omar's um, statement that lower cutting rates would actually ease shelter inflation. Do you agree with that?
I get his idea that it would increase supply, um, and that maybe that would reduce. But I still don't agree, just because my inkling is somewhere like here in the Bay Area, there's so many people waiting on the sidelines. And as soon as interest rates go down, I just get the feeling these people are going to start trying to make their money go further. Everyone's going to max out how far their money can go. And they're just, and that doesn't speak for the, I guess that's not the same necessarily in the whole country, but there's such limited supply. And to suddenly expect a massive increase, all of a sudden everyone's going to sell their house at once. I just think people are content living where they live, and they don't want to. There's overall not going to just decide to sell their houses. I don't know how many people are waiting. I'm just not sure. I just so it's possible, um, but not likely in my opinion.
Why are your disagreements with Omar so much more well phrased and political than when you disagree with me? You start with, "You're wrong."
No, I mean I disagree with you, in a polite manner, and then you interrupt me, and then it just spirals downhill. Omar interrupts. If he interrupts me, I'll yell at him too. Equal opportunity for both
That's
you
such bullshit. That's such bullshit.
BSers.
You know it.
And he started his statement with, "I agree with machines," so that probably buttered me up a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Well, MJ agrees with both of you. There you go.
Did you guys hear about this Lyft thing yesterday?
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
I mean, there's not much to talk about. They forecasted 50 basis points of margin expansion and they wrote 500 basis points. The stock shot up like 60% after hours. And then they issued a correction and they're like, actually it's 50 basis points, not 500. So it's like the difference between 5% and 0.5%. And then the stock still went up like 20%. It was completely bizarre. And honestly, I wonder, like, was that an error, or did someone just pull off like a really epic trade? You know, like, think about it. They're just like dating the person who has to put that deck together. They just distract her for a second, put an extra zero in there, load up on calls or something. Something they can sell after hours. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some SEC action over this, but not really too much to discuss there. Just kind of funny.
Was there anything in the actual results that would have led to today's increase?
Well, 50 basis points of margin expansion are forecasted.
I don't think that's enough for today's. I think there's some weird stuff going on there. There's definitely going to be a SEC investigation. I'm trying to be more of a host and get out of making definite statements like what I just said. There will definitely be an SEC investigation. I don't fucking know. What do I know?
Yeah, the other thing that was interesting is it turned out that the person who got in the drunk driving crash had never actually downloaded FSD beta.
So Washington Post article was completely off, huh?
Yeah, completely wrong. And Fred Lambert, he's like DMing Sawyer saying, "You're wrong, da da da." He's like talking up a storm, like, having this battle with Sawyer on the timeline, like saying, "Oh, these Tesla fans are so terrible. They're trying to blame this guy just because he was drunk for the crash when he was clearly running FSD beta." And it was like, no, actually, he didn't even download it. If he had, it might have actually saved his life, but he never downloaded it, despite the fact that it was available to them. So, you know, it just reminds, like, this shit just happens time and time again. They're just trying so desperately to find this, horrific death by FSD, and they just cannot find it. They cannot find it, and so they have to like make stuff up. Like, you guys remember that other story in Texas? Oh, they were they you know, there was no one in the driver's seat. They thought that they could just, and then it was just complete bullshit, right? And this just keeps happening time and time again, and they don't learn. They don't look for actual proof. Proof would be vehicle logs, FSD on, not some guy who was shit faced said something. That's what we call anecdotal evidence, right? So, if you just do the math, there's 1.35 fatalities for every 100 million vehicle miles traveled. So, just based on them driving 800 million miles, there should be 11 people who died using FSD beta if it's no more or less safe than driving manually. If it has no impact on safety, then there should be 11 people who died. That's just normal when you drive 800 million miles. So, nobody died. If this person had actually been the first person to die, like the Washington Post story said, then that would mean you can drive 11 times further on average on FSD beta compared to manual driving without dying. But now it turns out this guy wasn't even running FSD beta. So we're 800 million miles, over 10 times more than what the fatality rate is for manual driving, and still nobody's died. It's kind of incredible.
Machine. But before that, link at the top of your screens for YouTube live chat, which contributes to watch hours. Please head over to YouTube chat, live chat, help the channel. Machine.
I mean, I just have to say that Faiz Siddiqui is a dick. This guy's such an asshole. All his stories are only about Tesla, autopilot, or FSD accidents. It's his whole goal. I just wonder, I'm not a conspiracy theorist normally, if just Jeff Bezos literally just hired this guy to just come up with bullshit on Musk and Tesla. I just can't believe this guy. Like, if I see him in the street in San Francisco, I'm gonna punch him in the face. And has anyone ever seen
No, you won't. You're all
Omar?
talk.
Listen,
All
by the
talk,
way,
no action.
Faiz
You
Siddiqui,
wouldn't kill a fly.
Faiz Siddiqui and Omar Kazi might be anagrams of each other. I don't know if we've seen these people in the same room at the same time.
I actually talked to Faye Siddiqui over the phone. I mean, the dude's just doing his job, and his job is literally to shit on autopilot. So, like, we had a friendly conversation. I was like, look, you're going to be really embarrassed by your legacy on this, right? You're like the guy who's writing that, like, seatbelts can kill you and it's better to be thrown away from the car. And, like, I mean, this has really been an embarrassing week of L's for the FSD haters. First, Dan O'Dowd spends $1 million on a Super Bowl ad and gets reprimanded by the NTSB in NHTSA. He's now potentially facing 5 years in prison. Then, on the other hand, you've got this guy writing this story, putting their credibility on the line, and it just turns out to be complete BS.
Why isn't he fired?
Well,
I
people
mean, I
clicked
feel
the
like
article, didn't they?
even though he's selling, good ads on the articles and everything and subscriptions and all that, we're still talking about it. If it's that, falsifiable, it's factually wrong, then I think that should be like an immediate dismissal. You know what I mean? And that hurts the credibility of your publication.
Well, so normally what would happen in a situation like this is you'd have the journalist write a story, and let's say it was Waymo or something. They'd reach out to Waymo, and Waymo's PR would say, "Hey, listen, this wasn't, what you think it is, da da da." And then they either wouldn't write the story or they would note in the story what the spokesperson said. What Tesla does, which is kind of an interesting strategy, is just let them make a fool of themselves and then, post the truth on X. So you could say, well, this is kind of a risky strategy because the damage is kind of done, right? Potentially. But on the other hand, then people just don't trust them anymore.
Obviously, the story was written, it's a lie, the damage is done. And too many people believe it. And even if there is a retraction, it's not a front page retraction. It's not, it's done a week later and nobody sees it. So this is the way a smear campaign is run.
Thank you, David Katz. Omar, there was a question in YouTube live chat for you. Do you think Andre Karpathy is coming back to Tesla?
I don't think he's coming back to Tesla. You know, Karpathy talked about why he left on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he's like, "Look, I kind of became in a position where I'm managing the team rather than just hacking on stuff myself, and that's not really a position I want to be in. So maybe he could, do some consulting or something. But I think dude just wants to make some YouTube videos, you know, and do whatever the hell he wants. So, I'm sure Tesla would be happy to have him if he does want to go back. Maybe he saw V12 and he was like, okay, yeah, this is actually really exciting. Let's finish this. But, I could see it maybe like on a, consulting basis or something like that. But, he probably just has other things he wants to do, like making YouTube videos, hacking on stuff, investing in companies. Um, but, Elon did like my tweet where I said, come back to Tesla, Karpathy. And Karpathy liked my tweet that said, excited to see what you do next. So maybe they actually have a secret plan here and they're kind of being coy about it. But, I think the AI team has done exceptional without Karpathy. And they've really kind of taken the deep learning approach, like end-to-end neural networks further, like kind of to what he originally envisioned. So I think he's on good terms with the team. They're friendly. I think, he'll talk to them, he'll give them guidance, but I'm not sure really what he wants to do next. This is a guy who can do anything he wants right now.
So you think XAI is more likely to get Karpathy than Tesla?
I don't know if I'd say it's more likely. It's a possibility. Um, yeah, we'll have to see. I don't. It is a little bit of a surprising move for him to leave to OpenAI and then to head out so quickly. It does seem like it's a strange time for OpenAI, right? They had this Chat GPT moment and it was this big explosion of excitement, but you know, it's kind of at this place where it's like, all right, well, this was supposed to change the world, but it hasn't really. There's limitations to this technology. And at the same time, it's been really commoditized by open source models, by Google, by XAI. There's an LLM built into Twitter. It's not really as special as it was just a year ago.
What do you think about George Hotz's comments? Actually, I don't know if he said this for certain. I saw him quoted on a post, but he apparently said something like, true FSD isn't going to be until 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just took a driverless ride to the park and back to get some tacos. And I'm driving with FSD 12 and it's making zero intervention rides curb to curb. So what is true FSD? If I can take a driverless ride and it works reliably, then is that really 10 years away from true FSD? It may take him 10 years with the hardware he has, but I mean, this is really
We have
happening.
just one sec. We have some breaking news. Elon Musk files 13G on Tesla with 20.5% stake. Elon Musk files 13G on Tesla with 20.5% stake.
Does
I
that
pinned
mean
it.
he's been buying Tesla?
I'm not sure what it means exactly.
Tesla
So I'm
stock
going to.
shooting up after hours.
What is it at?
192.
Closed up 2.6%. After hours, it's up 1.9%.
Wow. Holy shit. So we're not too far away from 25% then.
We're only 4.5% away.
We can give him that.
How do you suggest Tesla give him 4.5%?
Grant him RSUs, and they vest if he can, get Tesla to 4 trillion or something like that.
All right. If anyone has any further information on this headline, you may request to speak or leave a reply into YouTube chat. Ken asks, did he buy or exercise his options? That's exactly what I was thinking too. He might have just exercised his options.
Yeah, I could see
I
him
would think
exercising
that's
any options he had so that he, increases his stake as much as possible so that he can vote on, reincorporation and issues like that.
exactly.
And I bought $25,000 of Tesla yesterday at 183 just because of V12 and everything. So I could see him also looking at everything that's happening at Tesla, you know, literally walking into this room of robots like it's Westworld and having your car drive you around and just saying, I need a bigger stake in this company, especially at these prices. This is like some narrative shifting news.
Tell us more.
Well, I mean, there's been, you know, the Tesla community has become the delusional butthurt bag holder community. And you hear like all these things that aren't true, all these sort of myths. One of them is Elon doesn't care about Tesla. He's checked out. He's going to actually take FSD and Optimus and take him to a different startup. And it's like that literally makes no sense. But, people say it like it makes sense. And well, if he is leaving Tesla, then why would he be increasing his stake?
Yeah. Do you think it's more likely that he exercises options rather than buying incremental additional shares? I mean, when you exercise the option, you're kind of essentially buying shares too at a
Well, I
lower
mean,
strike price. But do you think he bought open market shares or just exercises existing options?
I mean, if you have any options that are vested, then you would exercise them. What the options basically are a contract that says you can buy Tesla shares at this price. So his option may say, for example, you can buy Tesla at $20. Even years later, you have the option to buy those shares at $20 at that price at the time. And Tesla basically holds those shares in their cap table. They put it in sort of like an options pool or an options reserve. And then you can buy those, and then the shares outstanding increases, and he actually pays the money directly to Tesla. So Tesla's cash position would actually increase based on the exercise of those options, which could potentially be like hundreds of millions or billions, depending on how much he exercised. So, Tesla would obviously benefit from that as opposed to the market seeing that transaction, like rather than it being an open market transaction. But that allows him to then buy, 10 times as many shares, depending on what the strike price is. Um, so, it would be foolish to buy on the open market if you have an option that allows you to buy at a fraction of that price.
I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but I understand what you mean.
I mean, if your objective is to increase your voting control as much as possible so that you can reincorporate and stuff like that, you would want to exercise any vested options, as that would maximize the number of shares you get per dollar.
I agree, but I don't agree with it would be foolish to buy in the open market if you have options at a lower strike price, because if the share price is lower than, like significantly lower than intrinsic value, let's say, it still makes sense to buy at the open market, even and hold your options for a later purchase at that strike price. Assuming that
Yeah,
they're not about to expire, right?
that's true, but again, I think his goal here was really to increase his control of the company as much as possible. And then, I think obviously there's going to be probably some tax implications of this. There's, a tax on the exercise of the options. So he may have to sell a portion to pay taxes or something like that. But he could also, use a margin loan or some other source to do that.
Okay, great. Any other questions, comments on this topic? You may request to speak. If you have any questions for Omar, you may request to speak. Machine is coming up. I'm sure he has something to say. Machine?
Hey guys, I had a meeting. It's just 15 minutes. I'm assuming I didn't miss anything.
We have a 13G filing from Elon Musk. He increased his stake to 20.5% of Tesla. Initial take is that he exercised his options, increased his control over the company at a lower price. So good for him because that lowers his taxable tax liability because the stock price is so low today. So he would be paying his taxable liability would be based on the current share price, the exercise price minus the strike price of the options. So the lower the share price when he exercises those options, the lower his taxable tax liability. So 20.5. So we're only 4.5% away from reaching his 25% target. And Omar is suggesting that we could give him some RSUs or other sort of compensation structure to get him to 25. What do you think, Machine?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on exactly how they would go about doing that still, but I do think maybe I'm stating the obvious that it's a big positive that he's doing this. I believe it's kind of signaling the end of the tail risk that I had talked about a week or two ago of things possibly going wrong, and this is a positive signal, and I think the market will take it well overall. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it does signal that. Good point. Good point. It kind of shows he's still committed to Tesla, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the market, is hates uncertainty. And there's still uncertainty around all this, but him doing this reduces some of that considerably, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There's some discussion going on the topic on YouTube chat live right now, YouTube live chat, which the link is at the top of our screens. And Newladite asks, why would he exercise his CEO compensation options if those are held up in court proceedings? And MJ replies, he's got other options from 2012 or so. So there you go.
I also see on the live chat someone said, I heard machine has a massive blank. I don't, I can't
This kind of
confirm from
besides the
that.
topic. We're focused on 13G right now, not your 13. Anyway, so Omar, do you think this confirms Elon's commitment to Tesla? Are you happy about this news?
I mean, I never doubted his commitment to Tesla. I talk to people who have meetings with him. He doesn't tweet about every meeting. He, is doing what he's always done for years, meeting with the AI team every week, working on getting these updates out, working on the strategy of the company. So, I mean, it's not really surprising. He said that he wants to have a 25% stake in the company.
In the replies to the space, Marty Earthling points out that this is a 13G filing, not a 13D filing. The 13D form is for investors who intend to take an active role in the company, while the 13G is for passive investors. What do you guys make of that? Do you think that's a significant piece of information?
So wait, which one did he file?
So first of all, I don't know if this information is correct, but Marty Earthling says in the replies, Marty Earthling says 13G instead of a 13D. The 13D is for investors who intend to. I need to hold on. Before I repeat this with so many people in here, I should just look this up. K10, what do you make of this news while I do look at that?
Can you hear me? I think I have a lag.
Yeah,
Hello?
we can hear you fine.
Okay, yeah, no, I just saw the news, and so I was jumping in to hear what was going on. I'm glad that it's happening. I mean, he needed to definitely like file back on that. I mean, I know that all the shareholders put that letter together, but I don't know how much the judge or anything will really take that into consideration, as awesome as it was. But I think this is the first strike. It's a good move.
Okay, here is the definition from SEC.gov. An investor with control intent files 13D, while exempt investors and investors without a control intent, such as qualified institutional investors and passive investors, file 13G.
What does control intent mean? Literally to have 50% control? Like, what is. I don't even know what the definitions of that is.
This is the same debate that happened when he was buying Twitter, remember?
Which is interesting because it's the same judge presiding.
Hmm. Any questions, comments? You may request to speak. David Katz, what do you think of this news?
I'm sorry, what do I think about what?
What do you think of Elon announcing that his ownership is now 20.5%?
He just announced it.
Say that
I'm
again.
sorry. If his ownership is 25%, that's what he wanted, what he deserves, and make him happy, keep
It's
him focused.
20.5, not
20.
25.
I'm sorry.
20.5.
20.
That's okay. That's okay. Let's see. The stock is up 1.1% after hours.
So I did a
Simon
Google search and it
Simon
said the
Simon Cl-
13G.
Simon Claring Bold in YouTube chat says 13G no control intent because he doesn't want to imply he's going to control influence the board. Omar?
Yeah, I did a quick Google search and it said that the 13G is basically just an easier form to fill out. Like it's less detailed and has less requirements. So I think you would want to just fill out that one if you could to avoid disclosure. It does maybe seem like, he should have used the 13D. It said the 13G is really for people who have a stake below 20%. So it seems like with 20.5%, maybe it was an improper form or something. But I would, maybe avoid reading too much into it. We have seen cases where, they filed a form late or something before. So I don't think this is him like announcing he's leaving the company or anything like that just because it's a G instead of a D.
Okay, good. I hope that's the case. That probably is the case, but it is an interesting point. Machine.
I mean, you have to exercise the options before you sell them. What are the chances he's just exercising them to sell them in the sort of worst case scenario, I would say?
He could exercise and sell right away. He doesn't have to file after exercise, right? I mean, it would be very unlikely to exercise, announce that you exercise, and then sell. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to think through, I guess, any of the possible options.
It looks like he's filed both 13Gs and 13Ds in the past. So this one's a 13G. Before that, it was a 13D. The last time he filed a 13G was 2022-15. So about 2 years ago.
Wes?
So,
Okay,
actually 2022-44 as well, 13G.
that's good information. Thank you. Wes?
Is there a link to the filing? I don't see one posted online.
Yeah, I
Go to
can.
ir.tesla.com, click at the menu, then go to SEC filings, and you should see them all.
We,
Sammy?
Yeah, I was gonna say I normally get an email from Tesla and I didn't get one, and I haven't seen it yet either. Can anyone break down like exactly what the implications of what happened were? Is it just an exercise or any additional shares purchased, or what exactly happened?
I can break it down. This is a normal filing that happens, every year. There's nothing new in this filing. It just tells you how much stock Elon owns outright, which is about 12.8% of Tesla, and then he has another 304 million unexercised stock options, which we already knew, which would bring him up to about 20%. Those 304 million stock options are, his 55 billion that he just got. It hasn't been taken away quite yet, but that's what that means. So there's nothing new here. It doesn't have any implications. It's just old info.
K-Tan. Thanks, Sawyer. That's really helpful.
Yeah, that email went out to me last night. I actually have a 13G filing announcement from Tesla yesterday.
That's interesting. Why is it making news now then?
That was for Vanguard.
I pinned at the top Evan's screenshot of the 13G filing. K-Tan, are you telling me this went out last night, not today?
Well, it doesn't I haven't looked into it, but it does say that let me just read it. I guess Sammy's saying it's for Vanguard. A Form SC 13G has been filed with the United States Security and Exchange Commission. That's all the announcement I got. And then it said, let me look at it.
Yeah, that might be different. Sawyer, are you saying so there's no new information in the picture at the top you're saying?
Yeah, no, this is all old info. There's no like trades happening. This is just a simple filing that he makes, every year, and just tells us how much Tesla he owns. Nothing. This is the same. He owns the same amount that he did a year ago.
Okay, great.
And one thing I should clarify is, even though the whole amount that given is 20.5%, that's not the amount he owns outright right now. He owns around roughly 12.9% outright, and then he has the option to exercise some stock options, which would bring him up to roughly 20%. But those are the stock options that were just taken away from him. So
Yeah, it was Vanguard and the 13G from last night.
yeah,
Okay.
Vanguard's stake went from 6.9% about a year ago to I think it's like 7.3% now. That doesn't really mean anything. Doesn't mean they're buying because they're bullish. It's just simple fund management. So that also doesn't really mean anything.
All right, great. We have a lot of people joining right now, probably trying to learn about this. Sawyer, do you want to repeat for those people who just joined? We had like 400 people join in the last few minutes.
Yeah, sure. So we just got a scheduled 13G filing for Elon Musk's Tesla ownership. His shared voting power is stated as 715 million shares roughly. He owns not outright, but it says that total ownership would represent around 20.5% of Tesla. He owns, where's the number? He owns 411 million shares outright of common stock currently, which is around 12.9%. And then he has the option to exercise another 304 million shares, which would bring him up to a 20.5% ownership. But those 304 million shares are part of his 2018 compensation package, which as we all know, the ruling was just that, it's unfair and that it was essentially taken away from him. So while those 304 million shares haven't been officially taken away from him, that's why they're just still in this filing. But this filing doesn't mean anything. It's the same ownership that he had a year ago, 20.5% overall. So yeah, there's nothing crazy here.
Sammy.
Yeah, Sawyer just cleared up what I was going to say, that, yeah, he has 20.5%, but that's subject to the recent ruling.
I see. Thank you, Sammy, for clarifying. All right, great. You guys want to switch topics then, since seems to be no news? Sawyer, what else is on your radar?
I'm not sure there's much else going on. I think, the FSD story's been talked out, so I think that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. The stock is coming back down after hours. It was up about 2%, and it's now down to 190, up 0.9%. Thank you, Sawyer, for stopping by, and Sammy coming up and clarifying. Any questions, comments, please request to speak. For those of you who just joined, the posts that you're seeing on X, that Elon just filed 13G, appears to be no news per Sawyer. Sawyer says this is an annual filing. It's a regular filing. It doesn't mean anything. It's the same numbers as before.
Yeah, Elon is just required by law to disclose this, every year. This was also in Tesla's annual report that came out like a few weeks ago. It's the same numbers, no difference. And as well as like Vanguard, BlackRock, all those big Tesla holders are also required to report their Tesla holdings, and those all come out in like 13 G filings as well.
Yeah. By the way, at times like this, when there is, some speculation and breaking news and confusion about what's happening, I don't accept requests to speak from people I haven't seen before. So if you're requesting to speak and you're not getting accepted, that's why. So Sawyer, does this mean we're only 4.5% away from the 25% that he wants to get to?
No, so the main number to focus on with this filing is the 12.9% outright ownership. Those are shares that, Tesla or Elon actually owns. He holds them. And then the other percent, the 304 million unexercised stock options, those are shares that Elon does not currently own. Those are stock options that he had that are associated with his 2018 compensation package, which was just ruled, unfair. So if the ruling stands, those stock options would be taken away from him. But we sort of have to wait to see if Tesla will appeal that ruling or not. So again, like the main number is 12.9% outright ownership. That's the number to focus on.
There you go. Great. That answers actually a bunch of questions in the replies as well. So thank you, Sawyer. So you had a post earlier about the compensation discussion, I believe this morning. You want to talk to
Yeah.
us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the plaintiff side, the defense, or Elon side, and the plaintiff side filed a joint letter, I guess. It sounds like Tesla and Elon will appeal the ruling. We don't know for sure. That seems like what they're moving towards. Before Tesla and Elon can appeal, the two sides would have to propose a final order for approval by Judge McCormick, which will include a petition for a legal fee, and that legal fee, which would be paid by Tesla, and there will be some negotiations there, is expected to be likely the largest legal fee ever paid in history, which would probably be I would guess $2 to $2.5 billion ultimately. which is pretty nuts. Typically, if you take a percentage of the total like damages, which is like 55 billion in this case, because that's the whole compensation package. So you take like the plaintiff side would request a certain percentage of that, which I think the typical percentage initially is like 26 or 27%, and obviously Tesla and them negotiate downwards slowly. So it wouldn't end up being that. It'll probably be $2 billion instead of like $10 billion. But then the fee petition is expected to be filed by March 1st, so in a couple weeks. If that's approved, Elon would have 60 days to file an appeal with the Delaware Supreme Court. And then if that moves forward, an appeal would, expected to take at least 6 months to resolve. I was speaking to a Richard lawyer earlier today, could take up to 12 months. So now it's sort of between, does Tesla want to just pay this massive legal fee and move on? And so they can move on to developing Elon's next compensation plan, or does Elon feel like he has a moral obligation because he feels like this sets a really bad precedent in this ruling, and he feels like it's so wrong that he just wants to press forward with an appeal, which would likely put on hold Elon's next compensation package for a little while longer and create some short-term uncertainty. But of course, Tesla could press forward with that appeal and just pull it at any point if they just choose to just drop it. They can do that.
So does that mean, Sawyer, that we're not going to get clarity on Elon's compensation package for at least 6 months to 12 months?
Potentially, if they press forward, yeah, with the appeal, then yes. And a lot of people are saying, well, can they go all the way to the Supreme Court with this? The United States Supreme Court? No, this is like just a state issue. The highest level that this case can go is to appeal with the Delaware Supreme Court, and then it would just end there if they decide to go that far.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments? Please request to speak. You may now request to speak if there are any questions or comments now that we have clarity on the posts about the 13G filing. Happy to accept the request to speak.
I think the 13G filing is going to be a little confusing for people with that 20.5%, because those 304 million unexercised stock options that is a part of that percentage was just ruled, that Elon can't have that. So, but because, they haven't decided whether they want to appeal or not, I think they just have to put that into this filing.
Right.
Do you have voting power on the options?
That is a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, he doesn't own them yet, so I would assume no.
No, you don't.
But I don't know for sure.
I don't think you do.
Hope I'm
Highlander?
not stepping on toes. I'm new to this stuff. Wouldn't Nevada, from a monetary standpoint and a legal standpoint, be a better position? I'm just asking the question.
Overall, yes, that is Elon's conclusion. That's why Neuralink and Boring Company have decided to incorporate there rather than Texas. But because Tesla's headquarters is in Texas, Elon just figured it's probably just makes more sense to just do it there. Otherwise, I think Tesla would incorporate or move their incorporation to Nevada.
We have a question from YouTube live chat. Can a new compensation plan be approved while the appeal is still pending?
That would not be smart from a legal standpoint. That would result in a lot of risk for not only Tesla but its shareholders, because this could ultimately just happen all over again. So you don't want that. So you either just decide not to appeal, and then you just create a new compensation based off the Macroeconomics ruling, or you go ahead and appeal, and if you end up winning, then you can almost just do a similar 28 like compensation package structure to what the 2018 one had. But again, it all depends on what Tesla ends up deciding to do.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sawyer. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. The space is living up to its name, Tesla Live. I was wondering where you were. When it first popped out, I went to your profile. I'm like, where's this guy when you
Yeah.
need him? Where's Batman when you need him?
I got a DM send me like, "Is this breaking news? What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh God!" No. Like, I bet people are freaking out right now.
Amy says in YouTube chat live, how many times will a judge overrule shareholders? We need another shareholder vote and increase transparency on the next pay package. Why don't we know from the judge exactly what to change? Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, it's sort of tough to how to tackle this. I mean, the judge just feels like the process was not fair, and I saw the former SEC chairman say, "Well, is a bad process, does that outweigh a good shareholder vote?" Like, I mean, she's sort of assuming all of us were just, either led in bad faith or we weren't made aware of a lot of these relationships between Elon and the board, which was, in my opinion, ridiculous. I certainly knew how close Elon and some of the board members were, but I chose to say yes to the ruling anyways, or to the proposal anyways.
Noel, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I just wanted to ask, do you know anything about Tesla investing in XAI?
I don't have any news on that. No, I'm not sure if they will, or I think Elon said, obviously, like X, like Twitter, X is sort of like under the XAI umbrella somewhat, but it sort of remains to be seen if Tesla would make any like investment into XAI.
Okay, that was it. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. This space has been going on for more than 2 hours. We're here every day, starting at 2 p.m. Central Time. You may join us for all things Tesla every day, not just when there is speculative news. Keitan, what's most exciting to you these days about Tesla?
Sorry, I was trying to navigate back after being out there on X. What's most exciting about Tesla? I mean, there's a lot going on. It's every day there's something new. That's
Cybertruck production seems to be ramping pretty steadily. That's good to see. I think we're going to get V12.2 at some point soon, maybe this weekend or next weekend.
there's a lot going on. I think there's a lot that keeps us exciting, whether it's negative FUD or if it's exciting things that are coming on the horizon that are good for Tesla. But I think watching the Giga Mexico going up is going to be really cool. And I think for a lot of us long-term shareholders, looking at the next gen platform is pretty exciting.
Sawyer, when do you think the next gen production is going to start and ramp?
I kind of agree with what sort of Elon guided the end of 2025, which is certainly much later than I would have liked. I guess it's possible that they figure things out quicker than either they or we think they will, and it could be mid 2025. But I don't think we should expect it sooner than that. We might see an unveil of it like sooner than that, but I don't think production would start.
Cade Cargus, you may go ahead.
Hey, thanks. You even said my last name right. Most people get it wrong. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is just kind of anecdotal, but related to the post from Tesla about future Model Y refresh. Found it an interesting approach to say it's not coming this year. Obviously, that could help some people in the short term to decide, okay, I'll go ahead and get a Model Y. But at least anecdotally, I know multiple people that are in the market and looking, and even just hearing that there could be a Model Y in the next year and a half, they're willing to wait a year. I think a lot of people that are in the market for a Model Y aren't in dire need of getting it. So it still seems like it could have an Osborne effect. I'm sure you guys have talked about this at length in various different spaces and stuff, and I might have missed it even on this one, but at least in my circles, it seems like people are still trying to wait, and I hope that doesn't Osborne it too much, but I would love to see them push their timeline sooner if that's possible and release it early. People would definitely want the new Model Y when it comes out.
Yeah, we talked about this topic yesterday quite extensively. You may go to a YouTube channel to find a supercar recording of it. I think some people said that the fact that Tesla announced that there won't be a refresh this year is indication in and of itself that there's some people that, waiting to order and they're getting questions. And I think the overall consensus yesterday was it's not going to come in until at the very end of this year, probably more like early next year. So if you want a car, if you need a car, Model Y is obviously the best vehicle, best value, in so many different ways, and the lowest price, lower than RAV4 in some cases. So after the federal tax credit, there are tens of millions of people who live in the handful of states that offer state tax credit as well. And you get to save on gas and everything, and you're getting the best-selling, most popular vehicle in the world. So go ahead and get it now if you need a vehicle today. Sawyer?
I think it's safe to say like we should probably see this refreshed Model Y in Shanghai first, just like the new Model 3, maybe like Q3, Q4 of this year, and then have it come out to like North America Q1 of 2025. I think it's pretty rare for obviously Tesla to even acknowledge there's a new model of anything coming. Uh, but I think I spoke to a sales advisor at a Tesla store, and he's like, every day I get people ask me, when's the refreshed Model Y coming? So I think that they just got so many requests for that they just felt like they had to address it to let people know this thing is not like just around the corner, like next month or Q2. This thing is still a ways off, and we have great low Model Y prices right now. Like you might as well just get that versus waiting, a year or so for the new Y.
Yeah, I think that could be true for a lot of people. I'm both an investor and a Model Y owner, and I have a version, I guess not version, but 2022 Model Y, and I definitely wish I could get the refresh as soon as it does come out. You never know, maybe I will. But yeah, I know for a lot of people that kind of splits their
Hi, gang.
decision.
Just wanted to say what I
So, Cade, I moved that other person down to listener mode for interrupting you. Go ahead.
Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about it, but I appreciate you guys' comments. I think there's still going to be a lot of people on the fence. Sawyer, I think you're right. It encourages people to get something now if they're in the market and prices are low, but also I think a lot of people in the price range that Model Y has been historically aren't in a rush, and if they think they can get quite a bit better vehicle. I mean, if it does a similar update to the Model 3, there's enough efficiency, tech, soundproofing, just all the different things that I know a lot of people that'd be willing to wait a year to get that. But I hope people continue to buy, considering I'm also an investor. So I appreciate any comments on that, and thanks for having me up.
Thank you, Cade. Kristen, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, not only are people going in showrooms, but there's a lot of us here that overhype and get detailed on the Model Y refresh that we're posting. It's coming in a month. It's coming soon. I see it around the corner. And for a lot of people who are not as big into Tesla or even the FSD, I think there's a lot of Model Ys out there with great discounts that still can go through. So I think waiting a year is smart. And I do think personally that the prices might go up a little bit more on the Model Y, especially with the refresh.
I mean, if you just think about it logically, they're not going to ramp the new 3 and the new Y at the same time. They're going to wait for the new 3 to be mostly ramped, and then they'll move on to the Y. I mean, they have so many different products. They're still ramping up Cybertruck. They're focusing on building out the semi factory in Nevada. They have a lot going on. They don't want to do everything all at once.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that if they've already had some 4680 Model Ys, hopefully they work out some of the charging kinks. So when they refresh that, maybe we'll see a better 4680 approach to the Model Y, but that competes with the ramp of the Cybertruck, as you already called out, and even the semi. So totally makes sense from their perspective, time-wise. Just hope sales continue to go up.
We're just such big Tesla nerds. We know all the tech that's the best out there, and we all want to wait for it.
Joey, go ahead.
Hi, I've never done this before, but I just had a question. If I had a Model 3 2022 and I sold that, like my dad got that for me. If I am thinking of getting another one, do you think with the new 3 it's better to get that or get an S if I had the opportunity?
I would get the new 3.
Over the S?
Yeah, because the new 3 has like a lot of the technologies now that the S has, which like ventilated seats, better suspension, has the rear seat screen, the interior ambient lighting. It has so many things that I don't think it's worth spending, $30,000 more for the S, in my opinion.
Thanks, Sawyer. I agree. Sovo, I mean, unless you want the best of the best, like Model S Plaid is the best sedan in the world.
If you want air suspension, like yeah, or if
Right.
you need extra space or whatever, and you want or the fastest car, yeah, get the S.
Yeah, this is Sovo. Just a question regarding, I heard rumors. Andre Karpathy has resigned, and there's rumors that he might be joining Tesla again. Does anybody have more information on this?
Wherever you heard those aren't true. That's just speculation. But in general, I think Andre is an academic. He doesn't seem to like the financial or business aspect of things often. At OpenAI, there was a lot of drama and a lot of distractions, which maybe made it less fun for him. I think he goes where he feels the most purpose and potential positive impact. And for him, I think that evolves over time, which is why I think we see him making the moves that he has in recent years, going from Tesla to OpenAI. Now it sounds like he's just going to focus on, more personal projects. He still likes collaboration, but I think he just wants to maybe go solo for a while, see how he feels.
Yeah, if you go to his account, he addressed that in some of his posts.
And we talked about this very question earlier in the space, and you can go to YouTube channel to listen to the recording.
Thank
you,
you.
Soho. Bradford, go ahead.
Yeah, you're claiming Model Y is the best Tesla available. Have you ridden in the Model 3 Plus?
Is that question for me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that. I said Model Y is the best-selling vehicle in the world. Do you have another question?
Nope, no other questions.
Thank you. Jesus Love, go ahead.
Yaman and Sawyer, how far off do you think we are from the performance Model 3?
I'm gonna guess April. That'd be my speculation.
And pricing, what do you think?
Well, I think the difference between the old Model 3 long range and the old Model 3 performance will be smaller than what this new Model 3 long range, Model 3 performance will be. I think it seems like they want to have a bigger distinction between the two. More actual upgrades, physical upgrades on the new 3 performance. That's the vibe I get. But I don't think it'll be all that much more expensive than the old performance was. Maybe like a couple grand more or something.
And how many non-employees, I don't want to change too much, do you think have Cybertrucks yet? Sawyer?
Not
Yeah.
non-employees? It's probably, I don't like maybe 500 to 1,000 around there.
Sawyer, a lot of people are excited about the Cybertruck. They cannot wait for their VINs. They're watching people reading posts about some people getting their VINs and they're checking their pages all the time. And when do you think Tesla will produce the $80,000 dual motor Cybertruck that qualifies for the federal tax credit?
Not Q1, certainly. I thought it might have been Q2, but now I'm sort of leaning towards Q3 only because they have so many foundation series orders and people willing to fork up like 100 grand, 120 for these things. And they might as well just do that because it's better margins. So they'll probably just focus on that for a while.
Yeah, they certainly have been able to sell foundation series. Demand does not seem to be a problem for the Cybertruck for sure. We have more than 2 million reservations from more than 1 million people. It's the amazing vehicle on so many different fronts. Which Tesla would you get today if you were getting one?
I think it's hard to beat the fact that the Model Y long range is $10,000 less than a Model 3 long range right now, including federal tax credit and inventory incentives. So you can't really beat that. It's $38,000 for brand new long range right now, Model Y, whereas 2 years ago it was $66,000. That's like a 43% difference. I think that's the best value right now that you can get.
Sawyer, yesterday there was some interesting news about CATL batteries being removed from the grid based on Biden administration's request. Would you like to tell us about that? Does that give you a concern about Tesla Energy's growth going forward?
I don't know. It's kind of weird because obviously a lot of our electronics that we use in our daily lives are made in China, like all of our iPhones, most of them. And a lot of government people use those. But I guess because those are, even though those are built in China, it's owned by an American company, whereas CATL is built in China and owned by China individuals. So I guess this is sort of similar to Chinese officials banning Tesla vehicles from some Chinese government facilities due to, camera spying concerns. So I guess it's really no different. I'm not sure if there's going to be any like huge negative long-term impact from it. If anything, that just means that the government won't want to buy CATL like energy storage products. They'll just have to go to maybe Tesla for more megapacks instead. So from that standpoint, I guess it'd be somewhat positive.
Seems like Tesla has enough sourcing options too that they can prove to the U.S. that the battery packs or whatever they've got coming are all locally produced. Obviously, they interact with other providers overseas. As long as they can prove that that's not making it here and into the government contracts, I think, yeah, it would be beneficial.
Chintan Shah has a question that replies, when do you guys think we get $7,500 EV credit back on Model 3?
That's sort of anyone's guess. I think they need more 2170 cells to become available in Nevada for that to happen. I'm not sure though.
Any other questions? Please request to speak. We have Sawyer on the board. Anything Tesla, you can ask Sawyer. We have K10 as well. We have Wes, who used to work at Tesla before. And we have Kate Cargis on the board as well.
I actually need to drop here in a minute, but I did have one other question. Maybe you guys have entertained these questions before, but is anybody tracking the production rate or even delivery rate of the Cybertruck versus Lightning and when that will eclipse the Lightning?
Well, Lightning production rate is going down. I mean, they're cutting production over there. And I
Right.
think the more Cybertruck production increases, the more Ford is going to have to cut Lightning production. So, Cybertruck doesn't really have competition as far as I'm concerned. Sawyer?
I believe Ford plans on making around 80,000 F-150 Lightnings this year. I don't think Tesla will make 80,000 Cybertrucks. I thought they would in late 2023, but I think it'll be lower than that. I think it's going to be a while though before they catch up to the Lightning. It's just such a different vehicle than the Lightning, the Cybertruck.
For
Sawyer, what
sure.
do you think is the limiting factor on Cybertruck production? Drew highlighted on the call that 4680, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely not 4680s. I think it's a lot of little things. Like there's just all kinds of new processes like to build this thing that Tesla hasn't dealt with before. So I think it's just a lot of little things on the production line that all add up to lower output. But this is just sort of normal in the ramp up process. They figure these things out. And that's why they sort of warned that this will be a longer ramp up than a typical Tesla vehicle just because of all these new things.
We have quite a few listeners from Europe, even at this hour. I think it's nighttime over there. Do you think Cybertruck will come to Europe ever? They want to know. They're curious. They want the best vehicle that's coming to market, the best and the greatest from the greatest company in the world. What do you tell them?
I mean, I guess, yeah, why not? I don't know how popular trucks are over there. Obviously, US is number one in that regard, but if they have to make like significant design changes to fit regulatory needs, then I don't know if they would decide to do that because then you have to like come up, get a new supply chain for certain things potentially. Like that's not ideal for costs.
Yeah, maybe eventually Tesla will adjust the Cybertruck to meet whatever regulation there is in Europe, but I can't imagine Cybertruck not being a global product.
Well, then you have China, which like has its own regulations, and in its current form, the Cybertruck would be not allowed to be sold in that country. So if you have a situation where like the US has a certain set of regulations that allow the current design, then Europe needs a different design, then China needs a different design from the US and Europe, I'm not sure it makes sense to just have a different kind of vehicle for every single country or market.
SRO, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering in which quarter do you think that the Cybertruck will be accretive to earnings?
Which quarter? Oh, I mean, not this year.
Well, yeah,
Next year.
even with the foundation model being a high margin vehicle, I wonder what the volume would need to be for it to be contributing to earnings.
I mean, for it to be really material, I think it'd have to be pretty up there. I think next year at some point we'll get there.
Okay, thank you.
Wes, do you have a view on that? At what production level will Cybertruck become accretive to earnings?
I think we have to very soundly pass 50,000 a year. And it's more than likely only going to make a real impact when it's over 100.
I agree. I mean, the current line is designed for 250,000 a year, and you want to get
Yeah,
to 60,
exactly.
70, 80% of your production line. So you're looking at 200,000 probably. So whenever we start seeing 4,000 plus per week level SRO, that's when we're going to see accretive to earnings for a full
Yeah.
quarter, by the way, not just for the end of the quarter.
Yeah, and I was watching Autoline Daily, and I noticed that they had figures for Europe on the competing competition in their percentage of their capacity utilization. And it's pretty low. It's well below 80%, which is kind of the break-even number of what you want to run at to be sure that you're utilizing your built-out capacity. And some of it's very low. So yeah, I think that they really have to get above 50,000. Like, I would hope that they would do that very quickly, like within the next quarter or two, so that they can prove that the manufacturing process can scale. Because right now it's hard to say because it's taken quite a long time.
Thank you, Wes. Kirsten, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing good. I'm just it's funny to watch how people got hyped up thinking this 13G was something else and then it's blowing over as just a annual thing. So we we're so microscopic at every little movement of Tesla or Elon. It's interesting.
I think people are really looking for signs that the stock is going to go up.
Yeah, I think so too. And that maybe, after seeing what that judge did, with the Twitter case and then coming back and saying it's unfathomable that you should receive such a pay package when it was already voted on. I think the shareholders are ready to see something from Tesla and the board move forward to an Eon. So
Do you think that move is going to come before this case is resolved?
I honestly don't know. This is all unprecedented, something new that I'm watching too. So I I mean, I don't know how much they want to reveal their hand because everyone's on it so fast. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'm with you. I'm not really sure. This is not my area of expertise, CEO compensation. So, but they said before that they're waiting for the case to be resolved. So I'm guessing that they're gonna do that. They're probably gonna follow what they said they will. And Sawyer said earlier that it's probably gonna take at least 6 months for the process to be resolved, maybe up to 12 months. So that's the timeline I mean, unless if they decide not to appeal, but I don't see how they don't appeal.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean,
Do
I
you
I think people. Oh,
do you have FSD?
me?
Yeah. Do
Oh
you have
yeah,
FSD?
I
Yeah.
would think I was the 10th person outside of the employees to get the FSD beta. Yeah, I have FSD.
All right. How's it doing for you?
It's doing good. I mean, it seems to be doing better every time. I mean, I'm not. I'm going to keep my hands and eyes on the road still. I mean, it's required that we do it, but I think it's doing a lot better than the earlier different versions that we had out. It's always improving. That's 100%.
Do you use it for most of your miles?
I don't use it for most of my miles, but I'm a very kinesthetic spatial learner and I actually like to drive. I find it very enjoyable. So I do use it for boring drives or times when traffic is very thick, though.
Which version are you on? 11.4.9, or do you have the are
The,
you
it,
waiting for 12?
I'm waiting for 12. Honestly, Omar is the only person, as much as the rumors are out there, that I know of that has 12 that is not an employee. So they say other people are out there, but I don't know anybody else. It's just employees and him that I know of.
Yeah, he said in here before that about 100 people have it, but most of them are not obviously on social media. They're just going about their ways. And Omar is trying to post as much content as possible on his YouTube channel, on X as well. And we discuss his FSD V12 rides in this space every day. And then I publish about 5-10 minute videos on YouTube summarizing his daily drives. And he's taken it to San Francisco, to LA, and he's trying different edge cases and coming in here every single day and explaining to us. So it's really nice of him to do that.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely is great. It's kind of what he's been doing, I think, since we had it for 4 years. But
Yeah.
it's cool that you guys are breaking it down in here. I think it's important people have a chance to ask the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. All the questions around U-turns or, left-hand turns. How does it handle the stop signs or parking lots and this and that? We kind of go every single day about it. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. At times like this, when there's a lot of news and speculative posts, we get a lot of new speakers. One of them was just requesting to speak, but this space has been going on for about 2.5 hours. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Let's see. Stephen, go ahead.
I see, so you're left. This is a Cybertruck question, and it has to do with pricing. So I'd like to just talk through it and see what your opinions are, Yaman. So right now we have this $100,000 plus Cybertruck, and at some point, all those people will be gone that can afford that. And then we'll start getting the $80,000 people, but I think there's not going to be enough production for these $80,000 people, meaning I think they're going to raise the price. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think instead of that, they might just kind of extend Foundation Series production probably through the end of the year. That's my guess. And then eventually, production is going to increase enough that, $80,000 will be able to produce. I would think sometime next year. And then the year after that, we should start seeing the rear-wheel drive production. Wes, what do you think?
Sorry, I don't know the exact question.
Okay. Julianne?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's your question?
Great. So I'm interested in the van. Tesla disclosed that they are thinking about it, I think, during Battery Day. At the same time, the market for vans is definitely, smaller than the market for compact cars or for trucks. So I'm just wondering if you guys think they will actually do it, and if they will, what's the timeline?
We don't know anything about the CyberVan. Wes, do you have an opinion on that, when CyberVan is going to come about?
I think we obviously have to see the Cybertruck ramp up first. I can't imagine they're going to do a van anytime soon, largely because I think Rivian is kind of tackling that. So, just remember the company is set up to advance sustainable energy and transportation. So that Rivian's kind of got that. So I would think that they'd focus on the next generation smaller vehicle first and kind of knock that out. Obviously the semi as well. They've got vehicles that they still have to ramp before they start another one.
That makes sense. Julian, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys. And any clue about the solar tiles? I mean, we've seen how solar has not been doing great for Tesla so far. It's pretty difficult to ramp up. So I don't know if there's any news, on the tiles.
We haven't heard any news on solar roof. Solar panels seem to do great for those interested in solar panels, solar energy, and solar roof seems to be on the back burner for now. It is a very labor-intensive product, so I think Optimus may make a difference, 5-10 years down the line on solar roof, but I wouldn't expect a huge ramp up of solar roof at the time. Tesla has its hands on dozens of different things, products and services, and there has to be a priority list, and I don't think solar roof is at the top of that priority list right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Steven, how are you? How's it going?
It's gone great. 2 weeks, I'll have my blue check mark back.
Oh, yeah? All right. You excited? What did you change? Why did you lose it?
I actually changed subscriptions and it went away.
Oh, really? You went from premium plus to premium?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it goes away. Like, why does it have to go away? Anyway.
Yeah. So your thoughts on the Cybertruck pricing is eventually we'll just keep it at 80,000. And if you have to wait, you have to wait. I mean, I've been waiting 4 years, so I guess another 2 years will be okay. And they won't raise the price because of the demand.
I think you'll get 80,000 next year. I don't think you have to wait another 2 years.
Hmm.
Do you need a car right now?
No, not well, kinda. Not really, no.
Well, we have other products. We can. You want to go next time you come to Austin? Maybe we can go for a test drive.
I I may be coming down that way because we're looking at houses in your area.
Yeah, there you go. And why don't you bring your son, who came into the space the other day? And when I asked him, "So what do you want?" and he goes, "I'm not even going to repeat the brand name, but it was not a Tesla."
So this
I
is just
cried. I cried myself to sleep that night, Stephen.
this is proof that I'm the only one. You're making me laugh here. They go about their lives, they see what they see, they know we own a Tesla, they know it's the best car on the planet, but they're going to choose what they want to choose. Don't
Just
worry.
bring them along to our
I
test
they
drive.
they were
Bring them. I'll
grounded
I'll
after
I'll, t-
that.
I'll talk to them.
Um,
We'll put them in the driver's seat.
Yaman, they were
We'll
grounded
show.
for a week after those comments, so you know.
Is that right?
No, but
Okay.
I thought about that afterwards. I like you just
Because that's what I would do.
yeah.
Wes,
I do that with my kids too when they step out of line and talk about other electric car manufacturers. Which brings me to my next point. I'm seeing an ad in my feed. I don't know if other people see ads in their feed, but it's a very strange ad. It's for BYD, and they don't sell cars in the U.S., but yet I'm getting an ad, and I thought that was pretty funny.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's basically just says Happy Valentine's Day, and it has a pink BYD seal in it, but it's just very odd. They don't sell cars here, so I just didn't know if anybody else was seeing that or if it's just me.
What's your theory, Wes, on why they're advertising over here?
I don't know. Literally I saw it and I thought it was a mistake because I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's definitely a BYD, and it says it in the ad, and yet they don't sell here. So maybe they just somehow bought that by mistake, or X
Well,
posted it in the United States by mistake.
I think they may have. Don't they do? Yeah, I don't want to misspeak here, but don't they have some buses here? Some small operation. I know they have an office in US.
For some reason, I was thinking the same thing, Yaman. I'm not sure. That was in the back of my mind
Yeah.
as well.
So that's one possible explanation. Another possible explanation is that they obviously have some investors based in US. So they might be still worried about their brand, etc. And then the third possibility, maybe they bought their ad wrong or the algo is wrong, what have you. That's just three.
Yeah, it's just one data point. Maybe
Yeah.
if they have another one, then we'll see a trend. But yeah, odd.
Do you think they're going to bring their low-priced vehicles to the US anytime soon?
It's funny. I happened to see Kyle Connor out of spec. He drove his Coda for the first time legally. I don't know if folks remember this vehicle. It came out in 2012. It was supposedly going to be, like a Model 3 killer type thing. Put Tesla in its place, all that FUD stuff, and they sold like 100 or 150 of these things, and this dealership sold it to him for $0. But I thought of that car when I thought of BYD because Coda was, they tried, but BYD is obviously a competitor. They're top shelf competitor in China and trying to break into Europe. So yeah, I that's got to be on their roadmap if they continue to succeed, which they are right now. So in China they are. They have to succeed, I think, in Europe first because they do make quite a bit of small electric vehicles which fit into the European market better. So I'm tracking them to see how well they're doing there, and I'm always interested to see which vehicles they're trying to push hardest there to compete with other brands.
Do you worry about BYD presence in the US as a Tesla shareholder?
No, not at all. I think it's honestly I think it would be super healthy. I think it would show that the market is ripe, still, very ripe for disruption, and it would show that there's demand. And if BYD did come here, obviously they would do so potentially with a large marketing campaign. I know that VinFast is trying this now, and just like the Coda, Kyle and his channel have also purchased a VinFast, and I can't remember if it's the VF8, but they're also doing a breakdown of like how that car performs. They're not doing marketing, but I think BYD would because they're such a large manufacturer. So I think it would show that the EV market is healthy and there's demand. So I would actually like that as a Tesla investor.
Yeah, one thing I agree with everything you said. One thing I would add is BYD doesn't appear to be working on FSD or autonomous driving. And when Tesla perfects FSD, I don't think many people will want a car that can't drive itself. Even though, like as Kristen pointed out, many people like driving their own cars. They enjoy driving, especially Teslas. Still, Kristen has FSD on her car, and just the capability I think is going to be important in the future, important in this differentiator.
I agree. And, like rewinding about 6 years ago, I did think that FSD was going to be solved by now in large part. And now that it isn't, that has actually allowed these other companies to, kind of gain market share. Not traditional auto. They haven't really provided any kind of vehicles that can compete, but the Chinese manufacturers have. And I find that to be extremely interesting, especially the I watched this video on Xpeng's new system in China, and they have a system that's rolled out to over 200 cities now that does kind of a level 2, almost level 3 type scenario, handles those scenarios. And yeah, I find that to be interesting that they're able to make these cars that can compete on price and feature set, and some, a little bit on FSD, but in the large part, it just shows that when you make these vehicles, the public kind of demands them. because it's just so much of a better experience. So yeah, like rewinding a little bit, I kind of thought that FSD would be solved, but now there is a bit of competition, and honestly, like I just think that just makes the marketplace healthier altogether.
Great. Just a quick reminder that ads revenue from YouTube allows them to keep these X spaces free and open to everybody. So it really helps if people subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscriptions are free on YouTube, and the link is at the top of your screens. Stephen?
So, a question about the Chinese cars. Do you think that the US government will allow Chinese cars to come into the US that have cameras on them and computers on them, just like they're not really letting us in their facilities? Because, or do you think we'll do the final assembly here? We'll put the cameras in and the computers in, and it'll be our software and our cameras, but we'll let them come in.
Yeah, I think the data sovereignty rights will be enforced, just like it kind of does in Europe, and it definitely does in China. I think there will be some type of insurance that the data that is captured here stays here. And obviously, to have a system here, it has to be trained on data here. So that I think that's what also is like what's delaying the rollout in Europe as well as in China. These Chinese companies that have already rolled out systems, they have data sovereignty. They've met those requirements. And I don't think that Tesla has been able to do that yet, because they are going to fall behind if they don't release a more feature-rich version of ADAS, versus other companies. Because like XPeng they have a wide range of cars now that have support. I think they have 4 vehicles, and granted, it's not as big as BYD's fleet, but I know BYD is also pursuing this very heavily, and they have a partnership, with several companies to provide the whole suite in their vehicles. So they're marching towards that as quick as they can, because it gives them a competitive advantage. So I would hope that Tesla does that too, but I think that's kind of the reason that the system hasn't been launched here, or hasn't been launched there, and that when BYD comes here, they'll have to also meet requirements for data sovereignty.
Any other questions, comments? Please request to speak. If no other questions, comments, we're going to end the space, and we have these spaces daily. You're welcome to join us at 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific Time. I'm going to publish the live recording on YouTube channel immediately, and I'm going to edit the video X space. I try to reduce the time it takes to watch it by half, so that we only get the tight information rather than the long pauses and the filler words and all that, unrelated connection issues, etc. I take all of that out and reduce it to about an hour, 70 minutes or so, instead of the 3 hours that we usually on here every day. So you can subscribe to the YouTube channel via the link at the top of your screens. Machine?